Hinman, and I will call this meeting to order February 1st, regular meeting of the Mendocino Local Agency Formation Commission. Clerk, please conduct the roll call.
Commissioner Orth?
Here.
Commissioner Ward?
Here.
Commissioner Gonzalez?
Here.
Commissioner Ignacio?
Here.
Commissioner Bazzani?
Here.
Commissioner Winkle?
Here.
Commissioner Haschak? Thank you. Other staff present include Executive Officer Hinman, Analyst Filer, and our legal counsel, Mr. Scott Brown.
Thank you. Now we'll move on to item 2, public expression. This time is for members of the public wishing to speak on items not appearing on the agenda. Larkin, do we have anyone wishing to speak for this item?
No, there's no one waiting in the waiting room. Thank you.
Thank you. There being none, we'll move on to item 3, other business. Item number 3A is announcements of county appointments and oaths of office. The Mendocino County Board of Supervisors has appointed Supervisor Mulhern and Supervisor McGordy to the commission as regular county members. Supervisor Haschak will continue to serve as alternate county member. We will conduct the oath of office for the new commissioners. When called upon, please raise your right hand and read the oath of office into the record. Supervisor Mulhern, would you like to start?
I, Maureen Mulhern, do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California, that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties which I am about to enter.
Thank you, Commissioner Mulhern, and welcome to LAFCO.
Thank you very much.
Uma, this is Scott. Can I make a comment?
Sure.
I'm requesting Jerry Ward attempt to mute his telephone because during Mulhern's statement, it was echoing and blanking out the screen with Jerry's icon. So it'd be nice if we can hear it without the echo. I'd appreciate that. Thank you, Jerry. I'm done. Thanks.
Thank you, Scott. Supervisor McGordy, please read your oath into the record.
I, Glenn McGordy, do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear this faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California, that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties which I am about to enter.
Thank you, Commissioner McGordy, and welcome to LAFCO.
Thank you.
Moving on to item 3B, announcement of special district representatives and oaths of office. The special district member election has been completed and fills the remainder of the regular term ending December 2022, which was vacated by John Huff, and a full term ending 2024. The ballots were counted with the assistance of Commissioner Ward on January 26th at the LAFCO office, and I'm pleased to announce that Tony Orth was selected to fill another 4-year term. So congratulations, Commissioner Orth. We look forward to your continued service and experience on the commission. To fill the remainder term ending December 2022, Matthew Frohnberger was elected and joins the commission from the Russian River Flood Control District. Mr. Frohnberger has over 25 years of experience in public service in Mendocino and Sonoma counties, and we look forward to working with you. We welcome you to the commission and invite you to raise your right hand and read your oath of office into the record.
Thank you. I, Matthew Frohnberger, do solemnly swear I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California, that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties about which I am about to enter.
Thank you, Commissioner Frohnberger, and welcome to LAFCO.
Thank you.
For the record, Commissioner Orth is not required to take the oath since there will be no break in his service. Clerk, please conduct a roll call of commissioners and alternates.
Okay, Commissioner Orth,
I'm here.
Commissioner Mulherin,
Here.
Commissioner McGorty,
Present.
Commissioner Ward,
Here.
Commissioner Gonzalez,
Here.
Commissioner Ignacio,
Here.
Commissioner Frohnberger,
Present.
Commissioner Bazzani,
Here.
Commissioner Winkle,
Here.
Commissioner Haschak. Thank you.
And for the record, staff present is Executive Officer Hinman, Analyst Filer, our Clerk, Kristen Meadows, and Counsel Scott Brown. We'll now move on to item 3C, selection of officers and appointments to committees. The Executive Officer will conduct the election of officers, which consists of Chair, Vice Chair, and Treasurer of the Mendocino Local Agency Formation Commission for the calendar year 2021. Following that process, the meeting will be turned over to the Chair. We will take nominations for each office individually or all three. After nominations of officers, we will conduct a vote by roll call. Are there any commission comments or nominations for Chair, Vice Chair, and our Treasurer?
I have a nomination. This is Scott Ignacio.
Commissioner Ignacio?
I nominate Tony Orth for chair.
Thank you. Are there any commission comments on the item or motion?
Gonzalez would like to second that.
Thank you. We have a first and second nomination for Commissioner Orth for chair. Are there any members of the public present wishing to speak to this item?
No public comment.
Okay, and back to the commission for discussion. Are there any commissioners that wish to speak? Seeing none, clerk, please do a roll call vote.
Excuse me, Uma, you need to ask if there are any more nominations.
Oh, thank you. Are there any more nominations? Seeing none, we'll do a roll call vote for chair.
Okay, Commissioner McGorty,
Aye.
Commissioner Orth,
Yes.
Commissioner Mulherin,
Yes.
Commissioner Ignacio,
Yes.
Commissioner Frohnberger,
Yes.
Commissioner Gonzalez,
Yes.
Commissioner Ward.
Thank you. That passes unanimously. We'll now take nominations for vice chair.
I would like to nominate Scott Ignacio as the vice chair for the LAFCO Commission.
Gonzalez seconds.
Thank you. That is a motion by Commissioner Orth and a second by Commissioner Gonzalez for Commissioner Ignacio to serve as vice chair. Are there any commission comments on the item or motion? And there being no members of the public, any discussion? Are there any other nominations? Clerk, please do a roll call vote.
Commissioner Ward, Commissioner Ward, are you on mute?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Frohnberger,
Yes.
Commissioner Gonzalez,
Yes.
Commissioner Ignacio,
Yes.
Commissioner McGorty,
Aye.
Commissioner Mulherin,
Yes.
Commissioner Orth.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. And finally, we will take nominations for the role of treasurer. Are there any commission comments or motions?
Gonzalez would like to nominate Jerry Ward if he will so accept.
Commissioner Ignacio seconds.
Commissioner Ward says he's been at there 3 years. Is there anybody else that wants to do it? Maybe more than 3 years. I guess hearing none, huh?
It's pretty quiet.
All right.
Thank you. For the record, there are no members of the public wishing to speak to this item into the commission for discussion or other nomination. Hearing none, clerk, please do a roll call vote.
Commissioner Ignacio,
Yes.
Commissioner Frohnberger,
Yes.
Commissioner Gonzalez,
Yes.
Commissioner Ward,
Yes.
Commissioner Mulhern,
Yes.
Commissioner McGorty,
Aye.
Commissioner Orth.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. And with that, I will now turn the meeting over to Chair Orth.
Thank you, and thank you, commissioners, for selecting me and putting me in this role. I will first disclose I will mispronounce words and names occasionally because I'm dyslexic and I do have trouble with that from time to time. And I just would like to make you all aware of that, especially you new members. I believe at this point in time, we'll go to 3C, which is selection of officers and appointments of committees.
Chair Orth,
Yes.
this is Commissioner Ward. I think we have an ad hoc committee as well. Do we want to continue that?
I would recommend that we continue the ad hoc committee, which is an ongoing, dealing with some ongoing issues. And I would welcome their continuance. And I would so appoint the members to so continue. Moving back to the committees, I believe the executive committee will now consist of myself, Scott Ignacio, and Jerry Ward will be the executive committee. I will open some discussion to the policies and procedures. I do think we should have a supervisor, a city rep, and a district rep on that committee. And with that said, which of the two supervisors wishes to step forward to the Policies and Procedures Committee? Okay, I have a hand.
I would be happy to.
Yeah, and I was going to say I'm going to nominate Mo because I'm pretty busy with water issues these days that take a lot of meetings. So this will take a little pressure off of me.
Okay, that's excellent. Then I would recommend to the commission and make the appointments of Dana, let's see, Frohnberger. Is that correct?
Matthew Fromm.
It's Matt. Matt. Yeah, you can call me Matt. It's fine. Yeah.
I heard the Dana earlier, so.
Yeah, that's, I'm using my wife's computer.
Oh. Okay. And Jared Gonzalez for the city and Mo Mulhern for the county rep. Is that acceptable to the commission? Just nod your head. Okay.
So ordered.
Those appointments are so made. And with that, we'll go to bank signatures. And I believe Uma would probably like locals to the close into our offices. So I'm looking for the two supervisors as well as Jerry Ward to be the signatories for our bank account. Is that acceptable to Uma? Is that a good suggestion?
Yes, that works for us. Thank you.
And are the two supervisors willing to be available for signatures?
I'm happy to help.
Yeah,
Thank
no
you.
problem.
Okay. Then the bank signature appointments are made. And I'm sure staff will be, make you aware of what the process is and what you need to do to sign on to the accounts. And with that, we'll move to 4, consent calendar. 4A, approval of the January 4th regular meeting summary. And I open that for discussion or motion.
I'll introduce a motion to adopt and approve the January 4th regular meeting summary.
Thank you, Scott. A second.
Gonzalez seconds.
Motion made and second. I'll open it for comments and any changes.
Chair Orth,
Yes. Yes.
this is Supervisor Mulhern. I am not going to vote on the minutes. I'll be abstaining since I wasn't present at the meeting, just to let you know in advance.
I understand that there are 3 new members who will not be, who will be abstaining to this roll call. Are there any changes to the proposed, well, they're not minutes, they're the record of our meeting summary? Hearing none, go ahead, staff, and do the roll call.
Okay, Commissioner Frohnberger,
Abstain.
Commissioner Mulhern,
Abstain.
Commissioner McGorty,
Abstain.
Commissioner Ignacio,
Yes.
Commissioner Gonzalez,
Yes.
Commissioner Ward,
Yes.
Chair Orth.
Yes,
Thank you. The motion passes unanimously.
thank
No,
you.
it didn't.
Yes, is there a comment?
Can we have a reading of the tally again, please, clerk?
Yes, so we have Commissioners Frohnberger, Mulhern, and McGorty all abstain. Commissioner Ignacio, Commissioner Gonzalez, and Commissioner Ward, and Commissioner Orth all in favor.
Thank you very much. So the result would read 4 yeses, 3 abstains.
Correct, thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. Moving on, we'll go to 4B, approval of the January 2021 claims and financial report. Staff, Uma, would you like to open up this discussion?
Sure. We have nothing to add other than the staff report is on page, I apologize, I just lost it. Page 15 of your agenda packet. If there are any questions, happy to answer.
Commissioner?
Move to approve to start the discussion.
Motion
Gonzalez seconds.
by Ignacio, second by Gonzalez. Open for discussion, comments? I would recognize our treasurer, Jerry Ward. Do you have any comments?
Everything looks great, as usual.
Very good. Any further comments by any commissioners? Okay, then staff, go ahead and conduct our roll call vote.
Commissioner Ignacio,
Yes.
Commissioner Frohnberger,
Yes.
Commissioner Gonzalez,
Yes.
Commissioner Ward,
Yes.
Commissioner Mulhern,
Yes.
Commissioner McGorty,
Yes.
Chair Orth.
Yes.
Thank you. I
Thank
believe this
you.
motion passes unanimously.
And that finishes the consent calendar. We have no public hearing items today. We have no workshop items today. So we'll move right to 8A, information and report items. And the first is the work plan, current and future proposals. Uma?
Chair
Thank
Orth,
you.
point of order.
Yes.
I need you to cover item 7.
Okay, let's go to item 7 and I'll
You
open.
need to make sure it's read in. You went from 6 to 8.
Let's see. Well, 7 matters for discussion and possible action. Are there any discussion items today?
There are none.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
And we'll move to number 8 and 8A, and we'll go back to staff. Ms. Hinman, would you please open up the discussion?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. By way of introducing this item for the new commissioners, each regular meeting, staff reports on active proposals and applications and potential future proposals that staff are made aware of through inquiries or early discussions. The staff report begins on page 24 of your agenda packet. We currently have 4 active proposals. We have 2 from the city of Ukiah. One is the proposed detachment of Ukiah Valley Sanitation District served areas within the city. We have been working with city staff on this application, which will be processed concurrently with the city of Ukiah's municipal service review and sphere of influence update. Also from the city, we have a pre-application request for comments on a proposed annexation of areas north of the city, which include the Brush Street Triangle and the Masonite area properties. Staff is continuing to work with city staff regarding appropriate process and timing of application processing. We're also processing a pre-application request that is a joint request from the city of Ukiah and Ukiah Valley Fire District for annexation of the city of Ukiah into the fire district boundaries. That process is being coordinated with city staff, and we are looking at next steps for the application. Finally, we have a pre-application request from the Millview County Water District for a proposed annexation of Masonite area properties. I will note that this would be a potential competing application with the city of Ukiah for this area. We do not have an application in-house yet. We also have one potential future proposal, and that is from the city of Ukiah regarding annexation of areas south of the city, and those are city-owned properties around the wastewater treatment airport. As part of this regular report, we also give an update on the progress and status of the annual work plan, which consists of scheduled municipal service review and sphere of influence updates identified as part of the budget process each year. This report also keeps the commission updated on changes in priorities or circumstances related to the work. We have 4 agencies scheduled for MSR sphere updates to be initiated this fiscal year. We have the city of Ukiah, the Ukiah Valley Sanitation District, the Ukiah Valley Fire District, and County Service Area number 3. We're in the process of establishing an MOU with the Ukiah to fund the MSR sphere update, and also an agreement with Plan West Partners to prepare the studies for the city MSR sphere update. The tentative schedule will cover the next 6 months to a year. Also scheduled to start this fiscal year is the Ukiah Valley Sanitation District, and we are coordinating with their staff on timing and process. The Ukiah Valley Fire District and CSA 3 are both in progress and have been somewhat delayed with the COVID impact agencies, in particular the county CSA. I will note that the ad hoc committee consisted of Commissioner Ward and our previous Commissioner McCowan. So we will need to look at assigning another commissioner to that ad hoc committee, and we could bring that forward at the next commission meeting.
That sounds fine.
And that concludes my presentation. If there are any questions, I'm happy to answer.
I'll open the floor for comments.
Yes. Go ahead.
Just raise your hand so I can see it. So who wishes to speak? Okay, Matthew.
Yeah, could I get just a thumbnail sketch of County Service Area number 3? Since I don't have a map in front of me.
The Service Area 3 consists of all the unincorporated lands within Mendocino County. It's controlled by the County of Mendocino Board of Supervisors. And it would allow for services to be delivered similar to special district powers. So the county board can pick up a given service area or distinct areas within the unincorporated areas for elevated levels of service.
Thank you.
Chair Orth, I have a question.
Yes.
Last month, we talked about delaying County Service Area 3. Uma, did you reach out to the county and ask if that's possible?
I have not yet been able to connect with the county, so we'll continue that. We did delay the Covelo CSD MSR sphere update for financial reasons, so we'll be looking at rescheduling that one in the next budget cycle.
Okay, thank you.
I have a follow-on question, Uma, and that is, have we heard back from the Ukiah Valley Sanitation District whether they wish to move forward this year or hold off for a year?
I did touch bases with staff, sanitation district staff, and we be scheduling a meeting, a conference call with them in the next week to discuss that. They wanted to discuss it one more time with the board.
I bring that up because I would prefer the CSA 3 to move forward if possible, because the Sherwood Group is trying to move forward with a distinct service area within Service Area 3. And I think that might be needed to continue the process. I will ask our attorney, Scott Brown, would we need an MSR in place for the county to act on a request to form a distinct service area within Service Area 3 prior to an MSR being placed on the record?
Technically not. I mean, when you create a zone of benefit within a CSA, that's not subject to LAFCO. But I think it would be helpful to have the MSR, because it would be helpful to have an understanding with the county what their intentions are for the CSA and what kind of services you're going to offer through the CSA.
Thank you. I'll open up for any further comments on the matters discussed, which is our calendar, our work plan, and whether we delay certain items in the work plan. Any further comments? Yes, Commissioner McCourtney.
So just for a point of clarification, I don't know what an MSR and SOI are. Could you please enlighten me? And I apologize for my ignorance.
Yes, and I will ask Uma to go ahead and describe one of our main functions here at LAFCO will be MSR and SOI studies moving forward. So Uma.
Thank you. The LAFCOs are mandated to prepare service reviews and sphere updates for all agencies within their jurisdiction. A municipal service review is essentially a snapshot in time of an agency that outlines their powers and their governance and their finances, and provides an overview of that agency. A sphere of influence is done concurrently, generally concurrently, or although it can be done separately, and identifies the existing and future service area of an agency. So it can be a coterminous with the boundary, or it can be an area similar to a planning area that is larger than its jurisdictional boundary. And we hope to do a LAFCO 101, possibly in March, where we will better describe and outline the role of LAFCO and what municipal service reviews and sphere of influence updates are.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Executive Officer Hinman. Is there any public comments waiting to come forward? Staff?
No, none at this time.
And is there any further questions or comments on this item before we move on? commissioners? Seeing none, we'll move to the Countywide Planning Activities Report, and I see we have a special guest. So I'll open that up to Executive Officer Hinman to introduce the item.
Thank you, Chair Orr. This item is new on our agenda, and we welcome feedback from the Commission on it, whether to keep it if it's appreciated. The intent is to provide regular informational reports on planning activities within the county to help keep the Commission informed on issues, in particular those that the Commission may benefit from being aware of as work plan studies or applications are considered. So today we've invited Elizabeth Solomon to provide an informational report on drought conditions and potential impacts on special districts in the Ukiah Valley. Beth is the general manager for the Russian River Flood Control District and has been providing regular drought and water supply updates to various agencies and entities within the county. So Beth, please go ahead and introduce yourself, and I will do a share screen for your presentation slides. Thanks for joining us, Beth.
Great, thank you. Hi, everybody. Good to see you all again. I think I know everyone now on the commission. So, as many of you know, when I left LAFCO as the clerk, I went to the Russian River Flood Control District, where I had worked in admin for a while, and I'm now the general manager there. And as Uma said, one of the things that we've been doing at the district is becoming a hub of information, trying to develop a unified voice in water leadership for our region. And our region would be, that I'm focusing on, is the Russian River watershed within Mendocino County. And once we have this sort of centralized voice, then we're better able to speak to other entities such as Sonoma Water Agency and the State Water Board, et cetera. So today I'm going to focus on a water supply conditions update with particular attention to how it is suspected it will be impacting special districts and to some extent the city of Ukiah, but I would say I would really need Sean White to present on that to be specific. Do you want to, if you can go to the slideshow view, it'll get bigger there for everybody. So here's a picture of the lake that, if you go back one. You go back one slide. There you go. And then if you go up to the top, you might be able to put it in a slideshow mode and get rid of all of the toolbar and everything. Anybody know how to do it with this version? I don't have this version of PowerPoint, so that's pretty close. So this is a photograph. This is a very short slideshow, but the photographs were taken just before the last atmospheric river dump last week at Lake Mendocino. And while you continue to play with trying to make that bigger, I'm going to carry on. So if you want to go on to the next slide. So Lake Mendocino is our main reservoir for this area. The storage levels are, as you may have seen, severely low. We are experiencing below average rainfall, third driest water year on record. And water leaders up and down the watershed are preparing for the State Water Resources Control Board to issue curtailments in the 2021 calendar year. And unless we have really significant rainfall, this will impact many of the diverters along the river with their own personal water rights. It will impact the special districts as well. So we've been talking with them, and they'll have some more information March or April, we're hoping. Next slide. So while we have Lake Mendocino as a reservoir, let's talk a little bit about how it gets filled. For the most part, the inflows come from the East Fork Russian River. And as many of you know, that water primarily comes from diversions from the Eel River system through the Potter Valley Project. Now, the Eel River in that branch is fed by Lake Pillsbury. And again, you'll have heard in the news, there's a proposal for relicensing the Potter Valley project. And one of the proposals is to remove Scott Dam, which would then eliminate Lake Pillsbury. And let me just tell you what's happening right now, and then you can kind of make your own decision about how that might impact us in the future. Right now, Lake Pillsbury is extremely low, and the PG&E has, there we go, PG&E has re-upped their drought working group, and it's stakeholders that come together and develop a variance that will be filed with the feds regarding how the operations of Scott Dam are handled. So basically what it's asking for is reduced flows out of Lake Pillsbury. They want to hold as much storage as possible. As you can imagine, we have environmental, interests, making sure that the fisheries and environment are protected. We have Potter Valley Irrigation District representatives, making sure that their water right is still maintained to the best it can. And Sonoma, myself, and other agencies looking at further downstream and Lake Mendocino storage. So if Lake Pillsbury storage levels decrease to a certain extent, they have to control the release timing. It has to be drained at a very slow rate, because if not, there will be slides and it will damage the dam itself. And similarly, it can only go to a certain level, and then they have to cut off the diversion completely for safety reasons. So all of this is really bad news for Lake Mendocino and also Potter Valley Irrigation District. So this is currently showing what we have, again, before the atmospheric river, what we have dripping into Lake Mendocino. So the inflows are threatened, is what I'm getting at. Next slide. Then we go to the other end of the lake, and we're going to talk about the releases. There you go. So the Coyote Dam is the dam shown here. Let's see, on the top picture, it's on the right. You can see the little bridge going out the intake. That's the little island out there, which is no more an island. And the releases are calculated and maintained by Sonoma Water Agency. And they have many regulations that they have to comply with from the State Water Board. So they can't decide, they have to meet minimum in-stream flows downstream of the lake, within the river. So right now, the last temporary urgency change petition, which basically allows Sonoma to slow down the releases, it expired at the end of December. And when it did, it changed the type of water year back to, I think it was normal or something. What it means is they had to let more water out. So they just filed another petition to slow down the releases again. And we're expecting that that will be approved this week and implemented as soon as possible. But the whole intention is to maintain as much storage as possible in the lake. So as you can imagine, all of this is going to impact downstream users. If we go to the next slide, one of the things that has helped maintain Lake Mendocino this year particularly is the forecast-informed reservoir operations. So a number of years back, it was a pilot project was done on Lake Mendocino. Rather than just release water on a regular schedule, they actually used the forecast to inform how they would release. In case there was a storm coming, they didn't want damage to the dam, they could release. So what that means for drought years like this is we have an additional 11,000 acre feet stored in Lake Mendocino right now. And when we only have something like 29,000 acre feet total, that's a huge bump. 1 acre foot is approximately 325 gallons. And Water World, we talk in acre feet. So this is a bonus. However, FIRO, as we call it, only works if there is actually water. So that it's one of the many moving parts of our water supply here. In the next slide, I'll tell you a little bit about what we've been doing locally to address these issues. We have developed a water resiliency task force. It's currently co-hosted by the Flood Control District, where I am from, the City of Ukiah, and the Mendocino County Farm Bureau. We have participants that include engineers and water experts and attorneys, and diverters, and we're trying to expand the group. So if you know of an agency or an entity that would like to be represented there, please contact me. And what we're doing is we're coming together and talking about the current issues in water resiliency for our region. Again, Mendocino County portion of the Russian River watershed. So currently what we're working on is communications with the State Water Resources Control Board staff. We're fine-tuning how data is collected. So water use data is collected by the state. And that data is how they decide if curtailments will be necessary or as part of the decision, and then also how to implement them. So there has been a little bit of negotiation about fine-tuning the accuracy of that data. That's a really important part. So we continue to do that. Another aspect is we are beginning to coordinate our public outreach a little bit better between the agencies and entities. And in fact, with wider ranging, I was recently appointed to the Aqua Region 1 board. That's the Association of California Water Agencies. And we have some folks from Sonoma County on that Region 1 board. And next week, we're going to talk about centralizing our public outreach throughout the entire watershed. That will be great. So these are the differences, 2019 on the right and 2021 on the left. Next slide. So one I touched on earlier is that the water rights will be impacted. So as you can see on the left, we have 2021, bottom right was 2019. And there's a big difference here. So what I want to bring to LAFCO's attention particularly today is, we have farmers that will be impacted. Their water rights will be curtailed, and they will hopefully have flood control contracts to carry them through, and ponds, etc. Additionally, there are many municipal suppliers that have water rights that will be impacted. So from Potter Valley Irrigation District, Redwood Valley County Water District, Millview, Calpella, Willow, Rogina, and River Estates. Those are all ones that, and Hopland, PUD, those will all be impacted by curtailments in one way or another. Each one is a little individual depending. Redwood Valley will be the hardest hit, I believe. They have a complete absence of secure water supply. They rely completely on surplus water from the Flood Control District and Millview County Water District. So I'm working very closely with their leadership, trying to notify the public, to prepare for the worst, and we're all hoping for the best. Some of these municipal suppliers have flood control contracts that will help them, but it's going to be a rough year if we do not get some significant rainfall. The next slide will, go ahead whenever you're ready. So this is like the best horrible picture. There are larger threats on the horizon. This is a year where we have Lake Pillsbury, we have the Potter Valley Project, and we are still facing this. What we are also concurrently facing is a long-term water crisis in the watershed, and that is linked with the Potter Valley Project's future. So anytime you have an opportunity to learn more about the Potter Valley Project, I highly recommend you jump on that. This week at the Upper Russian River Water Agency meeting, Janet Pauley, who is the chair of the Inland Water and Power Commission, is presenting on the Potter Valley Project. And these are all a lot of names, and I'm not going to go into all of them in detail. Please feel free to call me anytime, and I love talking water. So she will be doing a presentation on I believe it's Wednesday night. You can go on to the next slide when you're ready. The next slide offers you some resources. So there is my contact information. There are resources on drought and water conservation. The Resource Conservation District has some free materials. In Sonoma County, they have put together a Saving Water Partnership organization. They have many materials on their website. For more information on the Potter Valley project, you can visit the Mendocino County Inland Water and Power Commission site. There's two others here. And the other one that I neglected to put on there is the Farm Bureau. Although that might be the Potter Valley project one. The Farm Bureau, Mendocino County Farm Bureau has a lot of information about the Potter Valley project as well. Additionally, tonight, there will be a presentation at the Flood Control District Board meeting starting at 5:30 by an engineer from Sonoma Water Agency. He will describe more in depth the impacts that the lake has on our water supply. So what feeds it, what controls the outflows, going into more detail than I've done today. So I encourage you to participate in that tonight if you'd like. All that information can be found on our website. And additionally, I am sending out weekly updates. They were called drought updates. Now I'm calling them water supply condition updates to align with some of the language in our region a little bit better. And if you would like to be on that mailing list, that email list, please contact me and I'll put you on that list. With that, I'm happy to take questions if there are any. Now that was a lot of information at once.
Yes, commissioners, this is our chance by having an agenda item to have a more broad discussion of these water issues tied to our water supply on the Russian River. So I'll go to Commissioner McCourtney, who has his hand up.
Thank you, Beth. So I know that there's some connectivity between Millview and Redwood Valley. Can you talk just briefly about what that is and how what the potential is for kind of emergency connections if Redwood Valley gets in a dire situation?
Absolutely. They currently, let me start again. Redwood Valley County Water District has a water right of its own that is mostly unusable. For this year, they were unable to use it at all. And it's a very small water right. The conditions of being able to use it are very fine. So all water that is drawn from Lake Mendocino currently is under the flood control right. They purchase water from us that we have in surplus. That goes to their treatment plant. And from the treatment plant, there's a pond. It can either go directly out to their agricultural customers or can be put through their treatment plant for domestic use. So flood control serves the entirety of the agricultural community in Redwood Valley. A number of years back, there was Millview began selling surplus water to Redwood Valley as well. And I believe that comes from well 6 at the Masonite area, though I'm not, Matt probably knows for sure. It's groundwater, therefore it's able to be transported out of their district. That is done through an emergency intertie. That intertie was not designed to be working on a daily basis. However, it has been for some time now. And that also supplies the domestic water use. So it's two sources of domestic coming from their own treatment plant, which is very expensive to run, and Millview. And in fact, it's cheaper for them to purchase from Millview than it is to run their own treatment plant. So there's a lot of moving parts for the Redwood Valley water supply as well. One of the other things I did not mention about Redwood Valley is currently their intake in the lake is only, gosh, maybe 12 to 15 feet below the surface of the water. So it won't be long before they are not going to be able to withdraw water from the lake at all. And that will impact their multi-million-dollar agricultural industry in Redwood Valley. Glenn, did that answer your question? Oh, you have a follow-up?
Yeah, kind of follow-up. So in terms of worst case scenario, is there enough interconnectivity between Millview and Redwood Valley to take care of the domestic supply?
That's a very good question. You know, the last time we had this drought, we had different leadership. Both the Redwood Valley general manager and I are new since then. Thankfully, we do have others in the community that are, we're working that topic during that time and will be able to assist us. But that is a big question. It really depends on water rights. So if Millview's water rights are curtailed, their own water rights, if the state says you have to cut back this percentage or 100%, then they will rely completely on their flood control contract and their groundwater. And what that means is they probably won't have enough to provide surplus water to Redwood Valley. So the same thing happens for flood control. If our water right is curtailed in any way, or our customers within our boundary request surplus water to get them through the year by a certain deadline, then we will have less surplus water to provide to Redwood Valley as well. And because of Redwood Valley's status legally within all of this very confusing structure, if flood control's rights are curtailed, we have to cut Redwood Valley off completely before we curtail any of our own customers. We can't sell them any surplus water at all. So in an emergency, what will happen? We'll get really creative and start working with all the authorities. And we're starting to do that now already, trying to prepare and come up with some solutions. So Glenn, if you have any ideas, Glenn's on our task force too, thankfully. We'll be talking about those at the task force level. And I will say we had a webinar recently, and Glenn presented on, he could sum it up better. Glenn, you want to talk about what you presented?
Yeah, so I basically addressed the grape growers about if you have a limited amount of supply of water, how should you use it? Because we've been through droughts this bad before, and we look to the Australians who have a lot of experience of trying to grow grapes with no water, and we went through various scenarios of, right down to no water at all, in which case you drop your crop and cut back your canopy, and your vines will probably come through. They won't like it, but they'll probably survive if we get a normal rainfall year. But this is a big concern for me, this lack of water security for all of Mendocino County, not just for the Russian River area. And it's something we need to address that's been sort of not really thought about very much in the past. But right now, Boonville's trying to upgrade their water system. I know that the town of Mendocino is extremely water insecure. Things are in Fort Bragg are a bit better, but even they depend on surface water flow through the Noyo River and some ponds, and everybody could be improved. And that's going to be part of my mission as a supervisor, is see if we can't get a little bit more water secure. Unfortunately, water often is used as a way of controlling growth. So I understand that, but I think it's also important to have enough water to be able to flush your toilet in a drought and fill up your bathtub. So those are things that are really big concerns of mine going to what I think is going to be an increasing weather pattern like this. So it's getting to where now we get 70% of our water is coming in about 3 storms most years. Those atmospheric rivers are getting increasingly important, and then all we get is a little bit of drizzle in between. So, we have to be prepared to store water when we can, and when we have a good water year, as we have with Lake Mendocino, store enough water for 2 years, not just for 1.
Glenn brings up a really good point. Lots of good points. Thank you, Glenn. I will tell you, Glenn and I are working really closely on many of these fronts, as is Matt Fromberger. Both are on the Inland Water and Power Commission, and we all attend those meetings monthly. So you're really lucky you've got 2 of the folks that have their fingers on the pulse right here every month with you. And I encourage you to pick their brains as much as possible, keep you up to date. And I'm always here as well. So what else was I going to say? Well, Glenn, I had a brain freeze there. You said something else that was really helpful, and I was going to expand on it, but.
The communities in water, maybe, or?
Right, the long term. There is a lot of concern. Long term, we do have these atmospheric. Oh, there we go. There's coming back. We have the atmospheric rivers. One of the things that statewide is really being focused upon is how to protect our infrastructure and environment from the atmospheric rivers, because as you have seen in this last storm, they can be very damaging. And also how to capture that water so that it can be used in times of drought, because in the next 10 years, it's only going to get more intense according to all the scientific models that are being run. We'll have droughts that are impacted, bookended and impacted with these atmospheric rivers. Another thing that's happening side by side with all of this is the Groundwater Sustainability Act, and that created the local Ukiah Valley Groundwater Sustainability Agency. And we are charged with flood control in the county are both on that Redwood Valley, no, is it Irwa, Potter Valley? I can't remember who it is right now, sorry. Anyway, we are developing a plan, a groundwater sustainability plan, and part of that is identifying where the aquifers are, the relationship between groundwater and surface water, impacts of changes in the reservoir operations, such as the Potter Valley project. And Glenn was, he in fact was the chair of our technical advisory committee for quite some time. Then he became supervisor and is moving to the board and abandoned us at the TAC. And in his absence, they made me the chair, of course. So that's another way that we're hoping to identify and clarify what our water condition really is long-term in this valley, or well, actually this region. Glenn?
Yeah, I just might comment that actually that's a little bit brighter picture. So we basically have the equivalent of Lake Mendocino plus underground, it looks like, and watching water levels over the last 20 years or so, it's pretty stable and pretty resilient. But of course, that's dependent on the Potter Valley project. If that wasn't there, I don't know what would happen next. So the good news is that legislatively, it looks like Congressman Huffman is coming through with two important things. One of them is that the Army Corps of Engineers is picking up the study again to raise the dam, which would be really beneficial for us. And the other thing is that he looks like he's going to have some funding in the omnibus bill to do the very expensive studies that are going to be required for us to take over the Potter Valley project under a joint powers authority or whatever structure we decide to do. And, you know, all these things are feasible. The downside is that water is going to get expensive. And I don't want us to end up like San Diego County, where they now pay $2,000 an acre foot. It's really, really costly. And I'm hoping that we don't end up in that kind of a situation. On the other hand, Beth, what are they paying in Potter Valley right now? It's pretty reasonable for an acre foot of water, and it's going to be hard to hold on to.
It's like something like $20 or something. I don't know.
It's very reasonable, and unfortunately, I don't think we're going to be able to maintain that under new ownership. Sorry to say, the rent's going to go up, so to speak.
Yeah, absolutely. We have a committee that's working with that. We're calling it the monetization committee, and we're looking at a couple of things. We're looking at the cost of water to be delivered through the Potter Valley project if and when it is relicensed locally, and how to cover the costs of operating and maintaining the project, you know, once we get it. That's also expanded a little bit into funding for all these studies. So we have several layers of funding that are happening regarding the Potter Valley project. Again, you've got Matt and Glenn here. I won't go into too much depth about that today. Maybe that can be in the future. They can tell you a little bit about that. Additionally, the raising of the dam, the Coyote Dam was designed to be the height to be increased, the size to be increased to hold, I believe it's an additional 8,000 acre feet. And first they have to do a lot of feasibility studies on that. We've already put a lot of money into the feasibility studies. They were paused. Now we're hoping to get them going again. But I found out this morning that the funding that is suggested by Congressman Huffman is only a 50-50. It's a match, 50-50 match. And so we would still have to try to find additional funding to even just do the feasibility studies on that. And I think Glenn's point to the work that we're doing at the Groundwater Sustainability Agency, determining what exactly is our water condition, a groundwater condition. There is a lot of water here. Some folks say there's enough, but what's really important is the management of this water. And for instance, the city of Ukiah has groundwater in addition to its surface water rights. So if they're curtailed, they have this backup. So often we'll see in times of drought that the city of Ukiah residents are not conserving as much, and then you have folks just outside or in Redwood Valley who can barely flush their toilets. So working with the task force, we're bringing all these folks together, and we're trying to even out the supply a little bit through through agreements within ourselves, trying to help out our neighbors, basically. This touches upon a lot of historical relationships that are a little iffy. So it's little steps at a time. We're working on it. But Redwood Valley County Water District is really going to be the hardest hit, I believe, excluding the conversation about Potter Valley's irrigation needs if the diversion is closed. I'll leave that for another day. But Redwood Valley domestic, it seems like the agricultural supply isn't probably going to come through this year. But to have the domestic supply so threatened is horrifying. And currently they are trying to finalize a water rate study. They're trying to increase their rates. They have a lot of infrastructure issues. The county is doing some retrofit there after the fires, etc. There's just a lot of issues happening in Redwood Valley. So,
okay, thank you, Beth. Let's move on to, I believe, Commissioner Frohnberger. You have comments, and this is our main discussion item today, so there's plenty of time for everyone to speak.
Thank you very much. To kind of go along with what Beth was talking about some of the new innovative things that are going on, like FIRO. In Napa County, currently, the State Water Resources Control Board and the local grape growers have worked together to let areas that are historically low-lying and floodplain areas that are now actually planted in grapes to actually reflood to increase the amount of water that can get back into the underground water system. So there are some very interesting ideas out there, and that one could prove, certainly through the Alexander Valley and Anderson Valley, places like that, that could really prove to be beneficial in long-term storage of water and the ability to buffer against changing climates. So there's a lot of work going on right now, but and in our area, nearly everything hangs on this Potter Valley project. It is of utmost importance. Everybody that's downstream of Potter Valley is reliant in one way or another, along the Russian River watershed, I should say, is reliant in one way or another on that diversion. If that was to go away, I shudder to think what would happen. So that's a huge concern for all of us right now. So anyways, thank you.
And I would like to open to the city council members, some of whom have both surface and groundwater supplies. And so I would ask Mo to describe the city of Willits, the city of Ukiah, and also whether there's an emergency intertie connectivity to the local districts.
Unfortunately, Chair Orth, I'm not technically the city of Ukiah representative.
Yes,
that's
true.
they will appoint somebody for that seat.
Yes, I'm more or less asking you to describe how the city of Ukiah works with its water supply and whether it has an emergency intertie to the districts at this time.
Yeah, yes, there are emergency interties, and the city of Ukiah is fortunate to have Sean White as our water resources director, and he would be a much better person to speak on this right now. But the collaboration between the Russian River Flood Control District, and I appreciate all of Beth's work to bring this conversation forward, because it's critical that we have these open conversations. And I was thinking as Beth was speaking, just how important it is to discuss countywide how important these projects are, regardless of whether you're on the coast or whether you're inland or you're in North County. So I appreciate everyone having this conversation today.
Thank you, Supervisor Commissioner Mollering. Thank you. And Commissioner Gonzalez, would you describe the city of Willits? I know that you've gone forward with your municipal wells as well as your reservoir system.
Yeah, basically, we do not have an intertie with any district, but we have looked to strengthen our current water supply. We just had surface water, and we had wells we only use for some local, I guess, say agriculture, but local municipal use. And we've expanded those for emergency use. And that's our plan, to strengthen our local surface, augment our surface water.
Thank you.
And I welcome the discussion, because I think that even if it happens in Ukiah, I've noticed in the past when water's gotten short wherever, the theft of water rises all over the county. And so what happens in Ukiah could affect us. When you get those folks in the water trucks going up to places, whether it be Brook Trails or Willits, into some lonely lane trying to go for water, I think that affects all of us.
Thank you, Commissioner. And I'll open it up to the commission as a whole again. Yes, Commissioner McCourtney.
Kind of a question for Beth and anybody else who has historical knowledge. Is there actually a countywide drought plan for Mendocino County?
Good question. Does anyone have an answer?
Fortunately, we don't have Carrie Brown with us today, but at the last major drought, the governor finally declared a state of drought, and it kicked in the countywide drought working group, or drought task force, I believe it was. And Carrie Brown was the lead on that. So thankfully I have Carrie's number. That has not yet been initiated, but Glenn, I'm sure we'll be working really closely together on the task force. The county representatives are there as well. And this is something that's definitely on our watch list. And, to that, this is a really important opportunity for all of you who are represented across the county. If you have particular water issues that you would like represented through advocacy, please come to me as a representative of our region in Aqua. So what Aqua does is it is a legislative advocate for water agencies. So if you know of things I should know about in representing Mendocino County, myself and also Tamara Alaniz from Brook Trails, General Manager, are on that Region 1 board, and we would love to hear from you.
Thank you. And that is critical that we do have 2 general managers on the Aqua board at this time to represent Mendocino interests. That should be most helpful. I will say, report on Brook Trails, we did see the dry spells coming with climate change. And so we did go through the process to raise our main reservoir by 3 feet. I will say that when you do so, you have to also account for any seismic upgrades that might be needed in a dam structure, and that can be up to 1/3 the cost of raising a reservoir. Certainly very glad we did it. The project kept us from curtailing water use beyond our conservation efforts. Here in Brook Trails, we do limit monthly water use to each hookup to 9,000 gallons. And in a drought emergency, we cut that down to 6,000 gallons. And that seems to keep us whole. Although I'm disappointed the current atmospheric river seemed to have missed us this weekend, and it would have been much appreciated. Again, open up to the full commission for any comments.
Tony, I did hear that we're supposed to get rain at 11 a.m. Someone told me, so I've set my clock to that. And it's supposed to rain the rest of the day and through the night. Cross our fingers.
And the winds have started up here in Brook Trails, so hopefully that means the front is approaching. That would be nice.
I hope you guys get that, because it's looking like a lot of sunshine down here on the South Coast.
Yes, yes. I think it's going to hit at least the northern part, but again, there's a high developing that's going to be very bad for us, all our water systems, if it continues. Any further comments by commissioners or questions? Any staff questions or comments?
Well, I'd like to ask thank Beth for joining us today and for the very informative presentation. Excellent job, and we really do appreciate all the work you're doing, getting information out weekly. And it's good to know that we have water experts sitting on the commission, and we look forward to their input as we work through issues that are pertinent to LAFCO. I will say that our 5-year rolling work plan does potentially or tentatively include the review of water districts, which include those in the Ukiah Valley area, potentially in the next fiscal year. So we'll be looking at that and bringing that forward with the budget development process in the next couple of months. But that is the information will definitely be important to consider as we move into our work plans, as well as the applications that we have in the Ukiah Valley area. So thank you, Beth, and Commissioner McGordy very much, and Commissioner Frohnberger as well.
Thank you, Uma. I really appreciate the invitation, and it's good to be back at LAFCO. I usually just watch you on YouTube, so it's kind of fun to be in the meeting today. And I really want to thank you. I'm glad that the agenda allowed us to have a longer conversation about this. I was expecting just a few minutes, so this has been great. So, you know, following what Uma said, there are a lot of issues that are coming up to LAFCO regarding water. And what I would like to stress is the importance of looking at the entire region when it comes to water and the impacts of changes on all of the residents in those areas and the health of those agencies and entities that are serving the water. There are a lot of smaller systems here, and they're all interrelated in some way. And just like water, we need to look at it as a whole. So I'm always at your disposal. Please call on me anytime, whether during a meeting or contact me. I will send Uma the presentation to include on the website for LAFCO and to yourselves as well. So thank you all very much.
Stay with us a moment more, Beth. Are there any public comments or questions out there? Staff?
I have no members of the public waiting. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And I'll make a final comment. Willits is lucky with some mitigation lands and a family of beavers who have been improving our groundwater recharge here in the Willits Valley. And I know many water managers don't like beavers, but they're there and they're doing us some good for the Willits aquifer. So ponding is going to be important moving forward. I think the flooding of the wine grape areas that are in floodplains has been shown to be a good working model as well. And I'm glad there might be some solutions moving forward. And with that, I'll go to Commissioner McCartney for a closing.
Just a quick question. Do those beavers have a State Water Resources Control Board water right?
I think they are considered of ancient water right holding family, and they really do get to go wherever they wish to. And there's quite a few citizens of Mendocino County that don't realize that there are active beavers within Mendocino County. And they have appeared on the mitigation lands along with the elk. So
you're saying they have a vested interest?
They have a vested interest, and they're not to be denied. Once they show up, they kind of take over. So in the appropriate zones. With that, unless there's any further comments by any commissioners or our staff, including our lawyer, Mr. Brown, do you have any comments? All right. Then we'll move on to our next item, which is 8C, correspondence. And I'll ask Uma, Executive Officer Hidman, and did we receive any correspondence you need to report out?
No correspondence received. That's not included in the packet.
Right, thank you. Then we'll move to your Executive Officer's report on 8D.
Thank you. I wanted to say that about the last item for the informational reports, I do welcome feedback from the commission on those. I would also welcome any suggestions or requests from commissioners for reports that they would like to hear about issues that affect our county and the various regions. We do have a lot of our work plan focuses on the Ukiah Valley area, which is one of the reasons we invited Beth to speak to us today. Also, of course, the drought will affect, as Commissioner Gonzalez said, affect the whole county, really. So again, if the commissioners have issues that they would like to hear reports on or gather more information on, then we'd be happy to agendize those and include them on future agendas. We have been working on the draft financial reports. Those have been reviewed by our Commissioner Treasurer Ward. So thank you, Commissioner Ward, for that. And we will be finalizing those and sending them off to our auditor this week. We will also be coordinating with our new bank signatories today and tomorrow. We'll need to set up signature cards at our 2 local banks. So we will be in touch with you later today, Commissioners Mulhern and McGordy. The office does remain closed. We are doing appointments, COVID-safe appointments as needed, and we go into the office to do the standard office needs, mail and phones. And we also are hoping to do a LAFCO 101 course at our next commission meeting in March. I believe that's March 1st. And that will give an introduction to LAFCO, and we will have some input from our counsel, Scott Brown, on that as well. And that's all I have for our executive officers report.
Questions from commissioners? No questions. Any public comment waiting to be heard on this item?
No public comment.
All right, then we'll move on to committee reports. And there was no executive committee meeting in the last 30 to 60 days. Policies and procedures. Is there a report to be made?
We have not held a policies and procedures committee meeting either. I will say that we'll be starting the budget development process with the executive committee in the next month.
All right, then we'll move on to commissioner reports, comments or questions. Commissioners, I open the floor. This will be on 8F.
I'd like to welcome everybody back to a new LAFCO year. It's good to see Commissioner Mulhern, Commissioner McGordy, and Commissioner Fromberger. I'm looking forward to working with you, and thanks for being here. And welcome back, everyone else.
Thank you.
I can, Commissioner Gonzalez.
I just wanted to echo what Commissioner Ignacio said, welcome our new members. And I really appreciated the water presentation, and I would like to see those sort of things come back to us in the future. I think that helps us out. Being up here in Little Old Willits, it gives me a good perspective of what's happening down in the valley down there. I just see the lake when I drive by on Highway 20 and realize somebody's got to be worried about it. So thank you.
Thank you for your comment. My comment will be directed to the last atmospheric river that hit Brick Trails here quite hard. We had 14 inches of snow followed by, and it was a wet snow followed by rain on top of that reduced it to 10 inches and reduced many of our forest canopies. Tops were taken out. Up on the ridge, the wind was blowing, I hear, and it did reduce the amount of damage, but in Brick Trails proper and up Sherwood Corridor, we had tremendous damage. And I would like to thank the many fire districts that came in when daylight came to help us clear the roads, clear trees off houses, clear trees off vehicles, open up driveways. And they did an astounding job in a short period of time. Our power utility is here in force with many people from outside the area who have come in, different utility crews, and the work is ongoing. And restoration of power to many residents is still ongoing up here. So I'm lucky to be talking to you today. Internet came back yesterday, but I'm up by the airport, and I will say that critical facilities tend to get power and services first. So places like sewer pumps and water stations do get a fairly early attention, and it's been flowing quite well up here. But there was a lot of damage, and I hope all of you are well and that your agencies have survived this storm better than we did. Is there any further commissioner reports?
Yeah, just
questions. Yes.
Just a comment. One of the jokes, I worked with the Southern Oregon wine industry some, because for a while they didn't have any cooperative extension people like me, and they always refer to Mendocino as Baja Oregon, and I think Brook Trails really is very, very similar with the kind of storms that you get that just are really off the charts compared to the rest of the county.
Yes, that's the high valley. The Sherwood Valley does tend to be a wind corridor, as well as we have a lot of southwestern facing slopes. But for water production, we did have water. We had 14 inches prior to this storm, and our reservoir was full and overflowing, but it did quit coming over the dam in between until this storm arrived, and now we have a good flow established again. But it shows you just how dry things are, that the watershed was able to dry out such that our releases weren't coming over the dam, but through our pipes. Any further questions or comments?
I would like to just add that I live up in Covelo, so we were without power also, and I want to thank our staff, Larkin Filer and Kristen Meadows, for helping me get the agenda packet out. It was quite a challenge, not having power until Saturday. It was fits and starts with a generator. So thank you to staff and for your patience. We did get it out a little bit later than we usually like to, but well within the time frame, of course. So thank you.
And thank you, staff, for being able to get this meeting launched with the necessary background materials. We'll go on to 8G now, CalAFCO Business and Legislative Report. Executive Officer Hinman.
Thank you. There's some information on this item starting on page 26 of your agenda packet. One of the things that came out of the Little Hoover Commission report that was done, I think it was 2017, I can't quite remember the date, a few years ago, as well as a common theme in the CalAFCO conference discussions, has been that most people don't know who or what LAFCO is and what they do. So messaging has been a common theme through CalAFCO communications. And as part of that, they have put together some messaging tools for the commission, for each LAFCO to use. And they have prepared the flyer that is available for our use, and that is on page 28 of your agenda packet, called Revitalizing Our Communities. This is a tool to get out to folks what LAFCO is and what they do, and also to help to try to bring forward the issues and the tools that LAFCO has at their disposal for helping with the COVID crisis. So anyway, these are available. This will be posted on our website, and we'll be sending it out to our listserv of special districts and agencies and interested parties. If the commission has direction on or thoughts on how else we can help move this forward, as far as getting our message out, please do reach out to me and let me know, and we can discuss that. That's all I have at this time. They did add another sheet that I didn't include. It's how to reach out to legislators, and I will provide that by email to the commission as well.
Thank you, E.O. Hinman. Any questions? Commissioners? Again, there's no public present to ask questions, correct, staff?
That is correct. No public.
Then we can move to adjournment.
Commissioner or Chair Orth, excellent first meeting. Looking forward to the rest of them.
Well, thank you, and looking forward as well. It's an interesting year coming forward, and I sure will be doing further rain dances.
Yes.
So thank you all. And with that, I'll look for the motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Without
Second.
need of a second, we are so adjourned. Thank you all. Good to see you all.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Look forward to the
Good day.
commission moving forward.